Hi everybody, this is Lynn with Prometheus Automotive. Today we're going to be doing a coolant pressure test. So I'm going to show you how to use a cooling system pressure tester on a car's engine. If you're trying to diagnose an engine coolant leak, cooling system leak, first thing to be aware of is that the engine could be leaking internally. That means the cylinder head gasket could be leaking, the cylinder head could be cracked, or the engine block may be cracked. We're not going to cover that stuff in this video, but we're going to be looking for an external leak on this car. That means maybe a hoses, heater hoses, radiator, water pump, just the cooling system that's external to the engine. So first thing you want to do is make sure the engine is cool. Take the radiator cap off. If you don't have a radiator cap, you might have a plastic pressurized coolant reservoir, and it serves the same function as a radiator cap. This one's not pressurized. This is just a basic overflow tank, but your car may have a pressurized cap, and that's what you want to use for this. So I'm gonna take this cap off, and the first step is to fill up the radiator. If it's low, this one's totally full. This is my car, so I know it's not leaking, but for a car that has been leaking, you're going to want to top off the radiator, make sure it's full, because as we know, air compresses and liquid does not. So when you pressurize this, the air might just compress, and if the coolant level is below where the leak is, the coolant won't come out and you won't be able to see it. So take that off, make sure the radiator's full, and then you're going to want to find this is a cooling pressure tester. You're going to want to find the adapter that matches your car's radiator cap, or if you have a pressurized cap, this adapter might be what you need. But for ours, we've got these oval ears on the side of the cap. This one's a perfect match, so I'm going to put that on. Just put it on the same way you put on a radiator cap. Press it down and turn it. And then this is the tester. This part goes onto the adapter. Okay, make sure we get a nice solid lock on there. Then this particular tester, here's the gauge, shows you the pressure level. It's got a valve to open and close from the air source. This is a regulator that changes the amount of pressure applied to the system. And then since this is powered by an air compressor, we've got an air hose here. We're gonna start with this closed so it doesn't put any pressure into the cooling system. And then attach the air hose. I need 2 hands for that. Okay, got our air hooked up, and then I'm going to start with this all the way over to 0, so that we can gradually increase the pressure. And then you open this valve, and that will allow pressurized air to start entering the cooling system. And then when you turn this, it starts to gradually add air pressure to the system. And then how much pressure do you want to add? So you look at your cap here, see it says 1.1 right there. That means that's measured in atmospheres. So we're talking about 1.1 atmospheres of pressure, which atmospheric pressure is about 14.7 psi at sea level. So approximately 16 psi is what this system is designed to handle. So for our testing, we can crank it up to, you may not even need to go all the way up when it starts leaking, but we can just turn this dial and boost the pressure up to about 16. Okay, stop turning it. It's at about 16, and then I can close this valve, and that shuts off the air supply. So now the pressure that's in here should be stable. Since it's not adding any more air from the supply hose, this gauge should stay where it's at if there's no leak. If there is a leak in the cooling system, this needle will slowly start to drop as the system bleeds off pressure from the leak. Once you have the system pressurized, you can start looking around for cooling leaks. The first thing you should do is look under the car and see if you see anything dripping. And you might see a drop or two, or you may see, if the leak is pretty bad, you might see a lot dripping out, running out into a puddle. Like I said, my cooling system isn't leaking, so I don't expect to see any leaks here. If you determine that the cooling system is leaking because it's losing pressure, or you see some dripping, you're going to want to track that down. So depending on where you see the leak coming from under the car, you're going to want to look at your radiator hoses. You're going to want to get underneath the car and look at the bottom of the radiator. So the radiator is right here. And if it's wet along the bottom, you might have a leaking radiator or a radiator hose. This is the upper radiator hose. Goes in there. If you have a leak coming from this area, down in there where it attaches to the engines, that's your thermostat housing. Back here we've got some heater hoses. That's these right here. These go into the heater core that's inside the passenger compartment. That's what heats your car when you turn on the heater. So these heater hoses do leak sometimes when they get older. So you want to check these for any signs of wetness or residue. There might be like a dry, white, crusty residue from dried coolant where it's been leaking. And then over here on this side is where we've got our water pump. Sometimes water pumps are built into the engine as under the timing cover, so you might not be able to see it directly, but if you can check it here. This is where the belt would turn it if it's driven by the serpentine belt. So you want to look for wetness around the timing belt area on this side of the engine. You can also check your reservoir, see if sometimes they crack and leak out of the bottom. This one's dry. So if you do smell coolant inside the car, you might have a leaking heater core, and so that might be wetness in the carpet, or a coolant smell, or dampness. It might be a mildew smell if it sat for a while. So that's a possible leak point too. Okay, needle's still where I put it, and that valve is closed. So it's been a minute or two. I'm pretty confident I don't have a cooling system leak. So I hope this information is useful to you. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Bye.